Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Scouting for Growth, where we delve into the stories and strategies behind the world's most innovative entrepreneurs and business leaders. I'm your host, Sabine VdL, and today we have an amazing guest who is a trailblazer in the digital marketing world. His name is Zaid Ammari. Their journey is nothing short of inspiring, starting from a minimum wage bank employee job to founding his own successful digital agency, yes, in the US, called PPC Masterminds. Zaid has become a notable figure in the realm of PPC and SEO. Indeed, if you think about it, Zaid has over now 11 years of experience in his field. He has crafted digital marketing strategies for top brands like Sony or the University of California. He also mentioned some of the casino in the United States as well, helping them achieve remarkable growth and revenue milestones. What sets Zaid apart is his ability to transform complex data into actionable insights, which is really critical today, right? If we want to succeed, that allows us to empower our business to make smarter marketing decisions. His mantra, which I love, is work smarter, not harder. We've heard that before. And that reflects his approach to managing, really complex PPC campaigns and optimizing SEO strategies. Beyond his agency work, Zaid is also an educator, sharing his experience and expertise with thousands of students and contributing to prominent platforms such as tech.co and business.com. Today, in our episode, Zaid will share his insights on how businesses can leverage paid marketing, paid media, navigate recent change actually in Google SEO, I hope you know, as well ads platform. And it's going to continue changing, right? With all this generative AI stuff coming through. You will find more ads on your Google engine as you go and search for your stuff. And also voice is going to be actually become much more prominent as well. And all this, it's about utilizing data to maximize impact. So whether you're a startup, an investor, a corporate looking to scale, or seeking to enhance your digital presence, Zaid's wealth of knowledge is sure to provide valuable tactics and techniques and takeaways. So without further ado, let's welcome Zaid Ammari to the Scouting for Growth podcast. Hi, Zaid. Thank you so much for joining me on Scouting for Growth.
Hi, Sabine. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So let's go into some, introduction so that we actually understand who you are and how you build yourself and your business over the past few years. So can you tell us about your journey from, I guess, a minimum wage bank employee to founding your digital agency?
Yeah, sure. Basically, I graduated with a finance degree, and naturally, the first thing that you want to do after a finance degree is work at a bank. So I found a job at a bank, and I thought, I would climb my way up, and learn my way up to like trading and things like that. But I ended up just working in a credit card unit. Um, I was working, in the bank world, if you, or the bank, at least the bank that I worked in, if I clocked in like 5 minutes late, they would deduct from my salary. And I wasn't really making any, like real money. I would barely afford, gas. I was still living with my parents. It was, I wasn't like really making money. I was just literally just working day in, day out for, like, I didn't see any growth. So while I was working at the bank, it was Facebook came out and became super popular, and I had visited the U.S. a while ago, and I kind of used Craigslist when I was there, and so I decided, you know what, why don't I just use my savings and try and open a marketplace for cars, and see if that works out. So. I took my savings, I found a developer, I paid him to build the website, And then after we built the website, I realized, you know what, building a website's like the easiest part. Now, how am I going to get traffic to it? And that kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, man, this is a tough part, like getting traffic because that's how you're gonna make money. You have to promote the website. So I hit the ground, going to car salesmen and being like, you know what, I'll update it. I'll put your cars up on my website for free. So I took pictures of their cars. I went door to door, kind of like that, and I made a lot of like partnerships, and I started putting up posters and stuff, and then I started figuring out like, you know what, if people are gonna find me, they're probably gonna find me online, so why don't I just spend some money on Google Ads? And so I used some of my savings to just run some ads, and I kind of learned from my own mistakes. So I didn't really like take a course or anything. I just started running ads, and then I started reading, and because I was using my money to grow my own business, I kind of learned faster, I would say, than other people who are managing other people's accounts. And then after a while, I sold the website, and I decided to move to LA to work at a digital agency so I can kind of like learn more from them on like what they do, the nitty gritty kind of thing for ads. So I moved to LA, worked for an agency for 3 years, and then I was the one doing all the analytics and the pay per click, and the ads for like a lot of clients. And then after that, I opened up my own agency.
So it's interesting. You have actually mentioned quite a few things. So first, you move from X to America. So give us a little bit of
Jordan.
Jordan.
Yeah, I'm originally from Jordan.
Yeah, and did you work in the banking in field, credit card you mentioned, in Jordan or in America?
Yes, in Jordan.
In
Yeah.
Jordan. And
Yeah.
what you are saying is like it was literally they deducted money from your salary to if you actually arrive a little bit late, which I think is not even allowed in some European countries. So that's why I was a bit surprised because, you know,
Yeah.
you have to go to the office and actually work, but deducting money for just being a few minutes late is a little bit drastic, I think. Um, so when did you
Yes.
make it to the US?
It was 2011.
And
2000.
you have been there for 13 years now, and that's
Yep.
where you actually build and grew your agency. And another point you actually made is really when you build your first website, you actually build a website, right? The shop window, knocking on the door, but then you actually realize, okay, how do I get people to come into the shop, right? And so, how was that discovery? And how much did you spend in actually making your trial and error, your iterative learning? Because all of us are iteratively learning as to use technology.
Yeah, the good questions. By the way, just I'm trying to remember exact year, but I think I moved here 2010 maybe. I opened my agency 2012-ish. And I had worked 3 years, 2 years and a half or 3 years at an agency. So I think it was like 2009-ish. But anyway, sorry, this is like a long time ago. But basically, I kind of I started reading on like, okay, how can I send like targeted traffic to my website? And I had limited savings, so I took what I could, and it wasn't much. It was like $1,000. It wasn't much at all. But back then, the cost per click to send traffic to your website was way cheaper than now. Because I mean, I don't know if you know, you have to pay per click, right? Every time someone clicks.
Yeah. And depending on
So
keywords as well. So you have more expensive keywords than others.
yeah, and because I was advertising in Jordan, it was the cost per click, I guess you would say, was way cheaper than like US cost per click. So the $1,000 kind of like went, I would say, like 5 times more, they got me 5 times more traffic at least than if I was in the US. So kind of started like running ads, and then I would I would look at my analytics like daily. I had it on my phone, and I'd be like, okay, well, how many people came to my website? and how many people signed up and how many people like put up an ad, right? Like because with the marketplace, you have to track how many people like put up ads and then how many people um purchased. But at that time, I didn't really it wasn't a marketplace where you would put in your credit card because it wasn't kind of available in Jordan. So people would have to call the person, you know what I mean? It's not like Craigslist. Like they would have to call the person or email them, and then they would go see the car and then they'll go buy it. They're not gonna buy a car from the website because again,
Yeah.
this is like 2008, right? Like so I was just tracking like how many people would put up ads and how many people came to my website. And eventually kind of started looking at like, okay, are these the people that I want? And so I started looking at like time spent on the website, how many pages are they looking at, like what are they doing? And then I started delving into like, okay, what keywords are they clicking on from Google? Why are they clicking from this keyword? How can I get better keywords? How can I get clicks from, other keywords that might be better for me? And then I was like, okay, you know what? Let me just take a certification because it was for free. They kept on advertising, Google Ads for certification for free. So I took the certification for like search ads and display. And so I kind of learned a little bit from that. But most of my learnings came because I was just watching my dollars like religiously, right? Like I was like, okay, man, I spent like $50 today, you know. What happened with these $50? Like, and then
Yeah.
the next day I'm like, man, I'm gonna spend another like $50. I have to be careful, you know what I mean? Because I had limited, like
Resources.
super limited budget. Yeah. So that's kind of how I learned. It was just very, I was very, like, I took a risk, but I was very just watching the data and just reading all day. Like, I wouldn't leave my computer for hours. I'll just sit there and like, how can I find this report? And then I'll click on like all the buttons in Google Ads and I'll go and explore like the little columns they have, and you know what I mean? Like I'll just look at stuff and then I'll find them like, oh, this is what this is, and then I'll change the date and then things like that.
Well, those
And
are important metrics when you think about it, actually, Zaid. Because when you think about the startup world, right, young businesses and tech founders who actually probably do not focus much on marketing. What I've seen in my industry, finance, insurance, is a lot of technology experts, founders of tech startups are expert at tech technology, doing AI, cloud, quantum, you name it, but not always expert at marketing and understanding how they bring people to the shop. I call it bringing people to the shop. So can you actually give us some tips and tricks as to how we do that? But before that, what are the main challenges, businesses face today post-pandemic, right? High interest rates, high inflations, high cost of capital. So it's costly to do ad when you actually cannot put money on your table for many European and international markets, cost of living has doubled over the past 2 to 3 years. Okay, it's going to go down, people. I hear you. But how do we manage the challenges related to the industry with doing what you do in the right way?
that is those are some great questions. So like I think the biggest challenge before I get to the tips and tricks, I guess the biggest challenge is just managing your budget and kind of projecting, doing some projections long term. So every time, I get a client, I always do projections for them. So I kind of run estimates. I have a free tool on my website, by the way. It just you can estimate like how much money you would need to spend to see how much you would make back. So the way I would do it is first, I always tell them to like plan long term. If you're gonna run marketing, you can't run marketing for a month or even 3 months, right? You need at least like a 6 months to a year strategy. Like I would say a year. You definitely need a strategy for a year, and you need to budget for that strategy. So if you have a budget for like paid advertising, you know, you can do projections easily because you kind of can you can estimate how much the cost per click is. And if you are, if you have some traffic going to your website, you already know what your conversion rate is, like your organic traffic conversion rate. You can use that as a baseline and kind of like do estimates based on that. So the way I would do it is I would look at, for example, Google Analytics organic traffic, and if my organic traffic is converting at 10%, and by converting, I mean like either buying a product or submitting forms, getting leads, things like that, depending on your business. But if the organic traffic is 10%, I would half it just to be safe. Like I just do you know what I mean? I'll take like 5%, I would say, and I'll assume that 5% is my paid traffic conversion rate. And then I can go into Google Ads and they have a free Google keyword planner. You can run a bunch of your keywords, find the high intent keywords, right? And by high intent, I mean, that someone typing in that keyword is looking to purchase. They're not looking like researching or anything like that. So you can find the average cost per click from those keywords, right? And then you would put, for example, okay, my budget for this month is 10,000. And from there, you can literally see like, okay, if I spend 10,000 and the cost per click is this much and my conversion rate is this much, this is how much traffic I'm gonna get. And from this traffic, I'm gonna convert 5% and I make this much from the sale. Does this make sense for me? Right? And then from there, you can be like, okay, it doesn't make sense, then you have to go try a different channel first, and then revisit the paid media channel, because like there's always ways where you can make it work. But if your business, like if you're not making a lot of money from it, like if you're not selling high ticket items and things like that, it's very challenging to do paid media in the beginning.
Yeah.
If you're running an e-commerce shop, honestly, it's way easier than if you're trying to get leads, because e-commerce clicks from Google Ads is way cheaper than if you're running search campaigns for keywords, right? Like the cost per click for a shopping ad is, I would say, between 20 cents and like a dollar, and then the dollar would be like hitting it high. If you're trying to get leads, it's usually like $5 plus, right? But anyone trying to get leads usually is selling a much higher, they're getting much higher revenue from, selling a product. Like selling products, I mean, it could vary from hundreds to thousands, but like if you're selling like a high service ticket item, usually, it makes sense to run search campaigns. So that I feel like in my experience, I get the hardest clients to work with, and the hardest is kind of a lead generation clients, because also you have a problem with tracking. Like
Yeah.
how many people submitted the form, but you don't know,
Where they come
did you
from.
make money? Yeah, did you make no, no, you know where they came from, but you don't know, did you make money from that lead? Like which
Yes.
keyword sent you that lead, and then did that lead actually make you money? So you need to tie all that back to the keyword. That's kind of like the difficult part with the
So you mentioned keywords are critical, I hear. And so, so let's just imagine a scenario where the people listening to these conversations may be amazing big companies, big corporates, right? I wouldn't say the marketing department, but at least the innovation department and venturing department, or scale up startups. And, as I said earlier, scale up startups, I tend to work with the tech innovators, the founders of those companies. Marketing is like a gobbledygook, right? Often for those organizations. So you mentioned keywords. So how do we make sense of keywords? You said you talked about intent keywords. How do we actually start building strategies which make sense for us to actually drive the outcome, which is first, I think it's about awareness to start with, top of the funnel. And then second would be lead gen, right? Getting the lead of the, the top of the funnel people to actually have a little bit of intent to have a chat with us. And then conversion. How do you actually marry all this stuff when you start looking at high intent keywords? Because we write all the time. We write to be on, my team and I write to be on page one of Google. But how do you marry that with keywords, high intent keywords, and the funnel we need to actually associate with it?
Right, that's a good question. It depends on the stage that you're in your company. If like in your case, if you're trying to rank on page one, that's totally fine. You could, for example, run a report and see what keywords you're not ranking for in the top three, or maybe page one if you want, because the top three, positions get 50% of the traffic or more. But let's just say page one, you could start bidding on those keywords. You know, also, you want to, like, for anyone who wants to do paid marketing, I think, in my opinion, the entryway to do paid marketing is first you want to set up retargeting campaigns, right? Retargeting campaigns are, if you're not familiar with them, is when someone goes to your website and they don't submit a form, for example, or they don't purchase, you can follow them online on different properties. Like you can follow them on like Facebook, on other websites, and show them ads, right? Like image ads. That I would say complements everything. Like if you're ranking and people are going to your website from SEO, you can still retarget those people. Because if you look at the statistics online, 90% of people that come to your website, they're not gonna purchase. And some of them, like a lot of them, are not gonna come back. So the retargeting ads, they kind of act like um, they just, like, I love them because they're super cheap to run. A lot of people don't actually click on them even. They just see them and then they remember your website and they type it in on in the browser, or they Google it, which basically increases your brand traffic from Google, which Google loves, and then they'll come to your website from organic search, right? So it's kind of like it's like the best of both worlds, you know? And it also it has a psychological effect, because imagine you go to a website and you leave and you see their ads everywhere, in your mind you're like, man, these guys are huge. They're advertising everywhere. Like they must be a trustworthy company. Why shouldn't I go and go back to them, So I would say, like, if you are to start with paid marketing, the first thing you want to do is retargeting, because it's gonna first help your other channels. It's super cheap, and setting it up is not I mean, at least to me, is not super complicated, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting because I can see, I do like every so often to buy a very nice DVF dress. And
Okay.
once I go to different website, different channel, I see exactly the dress I've just bought being presented to me. And I'm thinking, I've just bought this. Why are you showing that to me again? But I guess it's what you
Mm,
call about trusted marketing, retargeting, just in case, because I tend to buy things in the shop, which takes me actually, Zaid, into, you know, B2C versus B2B. And I think it's a very important conversation for us to have, where when you look at business to consumer, right, when you start looking at PPC, high volume, probably low margin products versus business to business, business buying from other businesses, would you apply the same strategies? Does the PPC strategy you are mentioning the same? How do we refine our strategies when we look at the fact that we are selling product and services to other business? Think about Microsoft or Amazon, AWS, meaning, all the generative AI, for example, platforms selling to other business, small or large, their services. Does the strategy applies in the same way when we look at B2C versus B2B?
not I mean, that's also a great question. I would say for B2C, You want to run obviously retargeting. For B2C, the difference between B2C and B2B is B2C, you can run retargeting campaigns, but they're called dynamic retargeting. Because basically, if someone goes and sees the product, like you said, and they don't buy it, they'll follow them with that same product. So it's kind of like dynamic because it looks at what product you looked at and it follows them automatically. And when you're running paid for a B2C, you want to run shopping campaigns mostly because images are huge, right? And the shopping takes up literally the first part of Google. Like if you type in a product, usually you'll see a bunch of images with reviews, and so that's eye-catching, and people click on it. And also the cost per click on that is much cheaper than like a search ad. For B2B, you want to run retargeting. I call it standard retargeting, which is basically follow people with images that you make. So it's custom made images that you make. It's not dynamic because they're not viewing a product. They're going to your website,
Yeah.
you know. And for B2B, you want to run search campaigns. So search campaigns are different from shopping because search is going to show a text ad kind of they give you multiple headlines you can put in. Like each ad, I think you can put in more than 10 headlines and up to four descriptions. I like to control my ads, so I kind of put in just three headlines and two descriptions, and I make like two ads and I test them against each other. But that's the kind of the difference of setting it up for for these different B2C and B2B. But again, the challenges with B2C, you can see, okay, this product, I know how much money it's going to make me. You can see the return on ad spend for B2C much easier than B2B. For
Yeah.
B2B, the issue with most of the companies that I see is tracking the quality of the lead. So like I get a lot of clients where they're like, okay, well I spent, 50,000 last month and I got, 500 leads. But if I look at how much money I made like 3,000,
Hmm.
you know. They see like in Google Ads it says, okay, well I have 500 conversions, but like none of these conversions, which is basically people submitting the form, are actually people who are going to buy from them,
Yeah.
you know. So linking the quality and figuring out the quality for the B2B is the trick. Because once you can figure out, okay, this keyword got me this lead, and this lead converted for, 50,000, 20,000, whatever, and you can link back that value to that keyword, then you'll be like, all right, well, this is my money keyword. These other keywords are not that great. Let me just pause them and focus on this keyword,
Yeah.
right? And you can do that not with just form submissions, you can do that with phone calls. You
Oh,
can, if someone calls you, you can figure out what keyword they use to call you with, and then link back the value from that caller to that keyword.
yeah.
So,
With a world where probably we are using less phone calls and more internet, it's interesting, right?
yeah,
Because I think it's age-based. So I think probably elderly people may actually still use the phone, but younger
100%.
people, as you know, will do not want to talk to people. So it's all internet-based. But the other things which I think is interesting you're actually highlighting is really understanding what is driving value for the business. And so the question what comes to mind, Zaid, is how do you demystify complex data, the use of complex data for business owner, partly when they make the marketing decisions. And the other part is of my question is, I think Google made some changes around their SEO recently. And so what do we need to learn and how do we need to consider SEO marketing, whether paid or non-paid, right? You mentioned organic, as we move to this new post Google SEO change.
Yeah, for sure. What was the first question you said? Sorry.
So demystifying complex data.
Oh, right, right,
You
right.
think about business owners, how they make sense of all this data, because it's
Yeah,
complex when you think about it.
yeah. The way I do it is, I mean, I get asked a lot of questions on like, okay, are my ads showing up for my keywords? How do I know that I'm getting enough clicks. Is my budget running out during the day? Things like that. Everything with paid media can be explained with the metrics. So because you're paying Google, there's literally a metric for every single thing that you kind of like trying to figure out. So for example, I had a client ask me like, are my ads showing up enough, or like is my competitors showing up more, right? There's a metric in Google Ads called search impression share that shows you your share of search impressions for a specific keyword, right? So I feel like once you understand the different metrics, it's easier to understand like the overall picture of like what's happening in your account.
Hmm.
But I feel like the way I try to do it is I have a Looker Studio. It used to be called Google Data Studio. I think
Okay.
it's called Looker Studio. It's like it's already like a pre-built report. It's like a 6-page report. It's just basically I have the client take this link, they click on it, and all the data that is in their account is presented to them on like one page. So it's easier for them to digest because I feel like the number one confusing thing is you log into Google Ads and you're like, man, there's like, 50 tabs on the left-hand side, and then you click on a tab and then there's like sub tabs under it. And then you click on that and there's like a bunch of columns, and then you can edit the column and add metrics or remove metrics. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So a lot of clients, they don't know what metrics to add, what metrics to look at. They don't have like a saved columns. They don't have saved dashboards. So if you look at that one report and it has like, okay, this is how much I spent, this is how much clicks I got, this is how many conversions I got, this is the days of the week I got the conversions on, these campaigns are doing better, blah, 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 only on one page. Then they're like, okay, now I kind of see what's happening. So my anxiety is less.
Lower. Based on
Yeah, so
if there
so they're
is there a magic number, and maybe you will say Zaid, there's no magic number when but when you look at B2C versus B2B, is there, a sweet spot around budget we need to consider? So imagine, one is trying to sell an average deal of $100,000 a year, $100,000 per deal, rather not a year, per deal. Is there like a sweet spot around, what do I need to spend for achieving my 100K deal?
I wouldn't say there's a it's different for every company. Literally, it's like every company is different. So I would say the answer is it depends. Uh, and like if you're trying to sell $100,000, if you're trying to get a deal for $100,000, I mean, you can spend anything from like t 2,000 to 20,000 a month. I mean, I have a client who's trying to get deals more than that, and they're spending like 5,000 a month, right?
Mm,
Because if they get one deal, it just pays for the entire year and more, right?
yeah.
If they get two deals, then it's like I'm taking a
Yeah.
vacation to yeah. So it just depends on it really depends honestly on the business owner and like their vision and how conservative they are and uh what their thinking is like some business owners they're aggressive they go like or you know what let's just spend like 50K for 3 months and see what happens.
Hmm.
Other business owners are like okay well let me spend 10K for a longer period of time and then I'll just go slow you know yeah I mean there's
Because you
no wrong
mentioned the
answer.
keywords, right? At the end of the day, you need to find your intent keywords, and it's not
Yeah.
always that obvious. So, spending a lot of money on Google Ad when you actually not nail that intent keywords could be waste of money, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, my recommendation, my personal recommendation would be start slowly. So like don't, for example, like I get some clients be like, you know what, I want to do like Google ads, Facebook ads. Can you put me on Amazon? Maybe let's just do retargeting on like Instagram and let's just do Bing ads too, I'm like, you know what? Why don't we just start off with Google ads? And then once we get like some traction there, make you some money from there, maybe after that we'll move to like Bing ads. And in the meantime, we'll be doing retargeting, obviously. And then once we get some traction from there, we'll move over to like Facebook. You know what I mean? I mean, it depends on the business, which one you want to start with. But if you're just starting out, I wouldn't say go all out on every single channel. Just kind of like if you're doing social media, like are you seriously gonna post on like LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Mastodon, Instagram, like all at the same time? It's crazy to manage because then you're gonna have to look at analytics for every single platform,
Exactly.
and you have to be active on that platform. Like, are you gonna go comment on like LinkedIn? Are you gonna go comment on Twitter? Like, what do you like? You know what I mean? So
It has to be very strategic, right? I mean,
yeah,
I do use this platform, Instagram, newer, but LinkedIn and X. And what I actually find is each platform has its own strategy and own mindset in some ways, and you can't just transfer content from one to the other. So you just
yeah,
need to be clear on your intent. And so, can I ask you about Google SEO? I mean, I heard things have changed. Can you tell us what has changed and what we need to be mindful of? I just got an email just a few days ago as well reminding me around some of the change. I think even on your email, if you want to do email marketing, you can't just put pictures in it, otherwise it's going to be stopped. I mean, tell us a little bit more around what is happening with Google SEO and some of the Google change when from a marketing lens.
yeah, absolutely. I can start off with like first. I mean, I'm sure if you noticed the AI overviews on Google, those are basically taking up a lot of space on the top.
Yeah,
But what has changed is there are just more ads on the first page of Google. Like they're just trying to, obviously they're trying to make more money, right? That's how they make money is Google ads and um, mostly other than their development, the cloud and all that stuff. But it's a lot more ads and the AI overviews. And so SEO is kind of like getting kind of cramped out, but it's still like it's still a viable option. Obviously, that they're not gonna just kill it completely. The thing that happened was they did a couple of major updates that, from my point of view, it killed a lot of traffic to smaller niche websites.
hmm.
And they started like pushing more like bigger names. So like for example, if you're trying to look for like air fryer reviews, right? Trying to find like an air fryer. Like nowadays it's like it like New York Times shows up for like air fryer reviews,
Really?
or like yeah, or like those big companies. Like I would rather see a chef, that use these air fryer reviews, tell me about them than like the New York Times.
Correct.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, you want a
Um,
chef who has used it to actually credibility, right?
Yeah, so that kind of like messed a lot of small websites up and got a lot of people angry, like, oh, like, I'm a niche website. You just basically took all my traffic and you sent it to like a reputable website. But it's just like, okay, well, the New York Times, if the New York Times is reputable, then like if you're just gonna send traffic all to the big websites, then
Why
you're
would
just
we
like,
spend money on
yeah,
SEO?
like yeah, exactly. Like, why should I keep posting content and I'm getting nothing for it? But now I think they did some kind of update a couple of weeks ago, where there's some improvement in that. Like I'm seeing smaller websites popping up more. But overall, the first page is kind of it's a lot more addy, if that's a word. Like there's a lot more ads in it. The AI overview actually pulls data from smaller websites, surprisingly, than like major websites. And I feel like they're just trying to either keep you on Google.com, or have you click on an ad, right?
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, it changes all the time. Like tomorrow, you can log in and they could be testing like a new layout on the search page.
correct.
Um,
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, which I mean, which make me think, Zaid, is, let's just go into generative AI and ChatGPT. You know what I do when I'm on my mobile device? I don't even go into Google anymore. If I want an answer to a question, I just go onto OpenAI or Perplexity. I said, answer that question to me. And so what is your view around, the common world where we go into Google or maybe Bing, search engine, and then we want actually to find answers, and we end up going to generative AI platform to find the answers to our questions. What does that mean for ads?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, like I don't even type anything anymore. I just go to ChatGPT and I talk to it.
Yes.
I don't know if you do the same. Yeah. So and I feel like you still obviously like there's some questions where you want to look at multiple options. Like I don't think ChatGPT is there where you can be like I mean, I don't know because I haven't tested this, but like, let's say you're trying to look for an air fryer, you can't just be like, "Hey, give me the best air fryer," and then, I don't think it's gonna show you the different products and then rate them and then tell you like this is the. So like from a comparison standpoint, and like if you're doing research like finding companies, you're still gonna have to search and like look for some and like kind of browse here and there.
Yeah, you need to go back to the internet. So interesting for your example scenario. So I would be using u.com, and they just raised 2 weeks ago $50 million. But what I like about u.com is citation. So my prompt would be, I need to find the very best air fryer in this world, u.com, use the research function, give me the top 5 air fryers in this world. And it will literally write a citation, literally an article for
Mm,
me around the best air fryers. And then for sure, you click on the link and then you have the citation and the article
yeah.
going back to Google. So you're absolutely right. There is a balance between the two, and there's a shortcut. But I mean, now I'm thinking about, imagine if, you are using those chat GPT or, generative AI platforms to make your research. So how do you define what is best? And are they going to select what is best based on paid marketing and volume of search? So then now we have a biased outcome as well. So it's fascinating when you think about how the different bits fits together.
Yeah. I mean, how you define best is that's the thing. It's like it's up to you, right? Like some
Correct.
people might want a small air fryer, that some people they want like a big one that has multifunctional. Like there's no best really. It's just best for you. So yeah, I mean from that standpoint, it's like p paid marketing is more like you don't know about my product and it's hard for me to show up in a crowded space. So let me try and stand out with my ad. And it's just the easy way for you to find it. Uh, I mean, I feel like ChatGPT is gonna add in ads at some point. It's just natural, like every single platform adds and ads except for like X, which was a complete like absolute failure in like making money. They couldn't figure out how to make money from ads because for a while like there were just not a lot of people advertise on X anyway. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yes.
But I feel like
Which
ChatGPT.
makes me think, what's your view around social media? We talk about PPC, marketing, Google. We just talked about generative AI. What is your view of social media and PR? What is this world, when you start looking at paid marketing and achieving success to find your leads?
I feel like the best approach is it's a hybrid approach. Like you can't just rely on like okay, well, I'm just gonna do paid media or I'm just gonna do this one channel. Like I'm just gonna do SEO because like you see you get an update and then you're just completely wiped out and then you're like, man, what should I do now? You know what I mean? So I feel like just like don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
It is definitely a good thing. You want to focus on social media and paid and organic, and you want to focus on uh, the social media channels that work f for you. Like for example, X is not great with ads. People on X are just like, quick tweets and they just comment and they leave. They're not there to like, they're not browsing like, oh, this air fryer, is good or whatever. On Facebook, they're communicating with friends and things like that, but they still see ads. So you can kind of like remind them of you and like keep them on top of mind with ads from there.
So, Zaid, you have worked with many organizations so far. Could you share with us some of your major brand stories? I heard you've worked with the like of Sony and the University of California. So what have you done for them, and how have those collaborations helped you and help them achieve better from, PPC marketing, better targeting to achieve the right results?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've worked with the major brands, and the challenging part with them is they have a huge budget. So when you get small companies, they have low budget and they have not a huge awareness. But with big companies, they have huge budget and they're very demanding. You know what I mean? So there's a double-edged sword. So with like USC, we sent them a lot of leads to join courses for people to enroll in the university. That was a little challenging because they have a lot of competition and they're on the more expensive side. And it's a long-term commitment. Like for someone to enroll in a university, right? It's not like a decision you take from
Lightly.
day one.
Yeah.
So the path to someone converting and turning into a student, it could take more than 90 days, right? From the time that in the first contact. So that was kind of like a huge learning for me is understanding your customer path and how long it takes a customer to convert because this also applies to like B2B. So if you're trying to convert like like we're saying each deal is 100,000, right? That deal is not gonna like see your ad, click on it, contact you, and then the next day be like, yo, what? Here's my money. That's doesn't usually happen like that. What they're gonna do is they're gonna click, they're gonna submit the form, you're gonna talk to them, you're gonna go through a whole sales process, and it could take more than 2 months. I mean, you don't know, 2 months to like 6 months to convert. So if we're optimizing an account for like a B2C that we know takes a long time to convert, you don't want to fall in the trap of like, okay, well, this keyword got me leads, but none of these leads turned into a sale yet. So let me just turn them off. And then you end up basically shooting yourself in the foot because the value hasn't got back to Google Ads yet.
Hmm.
No. And another problem, which many people probably they're not going to face, is um, like if someone converts more than 90 days, it doesn't usually get back to Google Ads. So if it's more than 90 days, it's hard to import that data back because that's kind of the limit that they have. So
Hmm.
you have to manually import it. I don't think a lot of people are
No,
gonna,
probably not, no one does it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's kind of the challenges. Every company has, their own challenges. I would say my success stories is turning B2C and B2B clients from I honestly usually get the hardest clients or clients who've been screwed over by other agencies.
Hmm.
So I'm here like trying to gain their trust and explain everything to them, and because they either didn't get the communication that they
Expected.
deserved, yeah, and they spent a lot of money and they got nothing, or they got stuck into contracts, which I mean I don't even do contracts honestly. Like I just if you want to leave, you can leave. That's kind of like my stand. So the
You
biggest success stories.
quality service, right? You know what you're doing, and client comes in, work with you, and move on. So, yeah, very nice approach.
Yeah, no pressure, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to force you into a relationship you want to have, kind of thing. Um, but yeah, the success stories is we were able to get them a lot of students, and you know they opened up to us. They gave us more colleges because they have different business schools and things like that. In terms of USC, I did work with a bunch of casinos. That was even more challenging because their budget was like ridiculous, and they kind of expected like imagine you're running paid media on every single platform in the world, um, and you're doing like paid media on social, which is like 50 different companies that you're paying, and they just wanted a one-page report of like
Okay.
what's happening, right? So that was kind of a that was a pain. Um, but yeah, I mean, in terms of success stories, there's a results page on my website. You can see kind of what we did and how we turned things around for some clients, B2C and B2B.
But I mean, one of your motto is work smart, not harder. And so I think it's very important for people to know that you're very approachable and you're here to help them achieve result, revenue result, outcomes from using PPC, Google Ads, and really understanding how the metric works. How is the future of digital marketing going to be for us, Zaid? And, what do we need to pay attention to as we move to 2025 and the year beyond that? Because I hear there's always a little bit of change happening with Google.
Oh yeah, there's always a little bit. I mean, I would say AI is definitely like a game changer. That's something you want to keep you want to keep an eye out for. If they open up ads, that's something you want to look into. If you sell something that might make sense to put on the ChatGPT store, like on the, how you can explore ChatGPT and get apps on there.
Yeah,
That's something you want to do. Another important thing is the privacy. Like in the EU, you guys have way more regulation than in the US.
correct.
So you want to keep, you want to stay uh, updated on that and make sure that you're meeting all the requirements because, like even Google with cookies, we have to be careful on how to use them when we're sending traffic from like the UK or Europe or that region versus in the US. The US is way more lax in that regard, right? So
Indeed.
that's yeah, and then I would say also voice search is something you wanna keep an eye out for because people are, the way I think about it is even when I'm optimizing landing pages, uh, clicks to me are energy exerted. So less clicks is less energy, the higher the chance that someone's gonna like contact you. You know what I mean? Voice is like the ultimate uh, use of like least energy because you can just be like, like find me this thing or like how can I do this or what's the best air fryer or like
So what does that
uh
mean, Zaid? Help us understand. So if somebody use voice to find us, what is the best air fryer? Do we need to record a voice as well for, our best air fryer is A, B, and C, listen to me, I have an accent. So how do we optimize for voice?
Well, no, they'll see your ad because basically the voice is going to be translated into text and then it's going to pop up on your screen, right? But I'm just saying when someone's searching with voice, they use much longer sets of keywords. Like they're not searching like best, they don't type in best air fryer. They're like, what's the best air fryer for chicken wings or like, you know what I mean? Like it's a longer search. So you want to make sure that you're going after long tail keywords and not just
Long term as well.
yeah,
Long tail. So
yeah.
thank you so much for sharing this. So where can we find you? Where can actually everybody out there can find you, actually, Zaid?
You can find me on ppcmasterminds.com. I'm happy to do free audits for anyone who has an existing Google Ads account. I actually go through your account and I send you a video of my recommendations of what you can do to improve the account. And please connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me with Zaid Ammari.
Yes, and I'm connected with you on LinkedIn, and I will mention as well your great work to my network. As the podcast come out, I'm sure many of them will actually reach out as well because it's an area which is a bit like witchcraft for many of the startups I work with, right?
I hope not. Okay.
Really understanding how that works will be very beneficial. But thank you as well to do actually free evaluation. And what you do is really evaluate the website, right? You go into looking at what the website is doing and whether it's actually delivering value.
I look at the website itself, but if you have an actual Google Ads account, I go into the actual Google Ads account and I see like, do you have conversions set up? Are they set up correctly? Are your campaigns structure correct? Like, do you have a good amount of ads? Are the ads relevant? Are you using negative keyword lists? I have a huge checklist that I go through. So, and then I offer, I go through that in a video, so it's easier to explain than writing up a whole essay of, this is what you need to look at and just easier to digest, I think.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Zaid, for joining me on Scouting for Growth. I am going to try your service at some point because we have just rebuilt our website. So
Awesome.
make sure to get access to this amazing resource because to grow today, you have to be visible. And so Google is definitely one of the platforms you need to look at besides social media, PR, and all those things. And I just really wanted to understand myself and make sure everybody out there understood as well how to use PPC in the best way. So thank you very much for joining me, Zaid.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Sabine. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Scouting for Growth. Please subscribe, share with friends, and leave a 5-star rating. Your rating is so valuable. I review all of them, and my team help me adapt content to meet your needs. Also, connect with me on my preferred channels. I am a B2B growth expert, so you will find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Threads, and X as well as Blue Sky. All information available below. Until next, keep scouting for growth.